What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and we have received a contract proposal at the last union meeting for Local Union 26. I'm going to give you my contract breakdown. I'm going to give you my take, and I'm going to let you know which way I'm going to vote at the end of this video. But the contract breakdown. It's effective from June 1st of 2024 to May 31st of 2027, if approved. And again, I'm giving you my contract breakdown and letting you know what I'm going to do, but every member has to make their own decision. And I can tell you right now that the buzz is all over the place. Some people hate it. Some people think it's great. Some people are on the fence. So, like everything, it's controversial. Here we go. So I've given you the terms, right? 3-year term, which is good. I was worried they were going to try to do a 5-year term. I'm glad they went with a 3-year term. Thank goodness. All right, Section 206, employee contracting. This is for anyone who wants to open up their own business as an IBEW contractor. It allows for a journeyman wireman to become an owner, operator, and maintain their benefits, provided that they meet certain criteria. Now, I didn't list the criteria. It's in the documentation. When you go onto the website, you go onto the ratify vote and look at the inside wireman agreement, and you can read the guidelines. It's all there for you. Read it for yourself. I'm just giving you the synopsis, the quick take. Section 2.12, work forms. Employers shall submit work forms for all jobs taking more than 4,000 hours to complete. Forms shall be completed prior to mobilization or performing the work. This change is going to allow for the improvement of keeping track of the work in our jurisdiction. Section 2.13, termination slips. Used to be a $20 payment to a terminated employee who does not receive a termination slip and final pay at time of layoff. That fee is now $100. This is to discourage employers from terminating folks and not giving them their final pay, their PTO payout, and a termination slip. Used to be just $20. You get them on your way and you mail them a check, call it a day. Now it's more, it's going to be $100 if you don't bring the paycheck and get them squared away proper, if you don't do the right thing. Section 2.22, steward's clause. A steward cannot be removed from a job without the BM's permission until the number of workers on that job is 10 workers or less, and the BM shall be notified 24 hours in advance. So a steward cannot be, used to be you could remove a steward as long as you tell the BM. Now the steward has to stay on board until there's 10 or less employees. Then you can request that the steward be removed. Section 2.24, foreman call by name. The hours required to work as a foreman go from 300 hours to 500 hours. This means when a contractor does a call by name because they're going to hire a foreman off the list, now they got to employ them as a foreman for 500 hours. This is to discourage folks from jumping the books. Will it work? Time will tell. Section 4.10, safety measure. All energized work will be in compliance with NFPA 70E. That's a good change. Make sure that it's all according to regulations. Section 4.15, hours. Regular work week can be either 5/8 from Monday to Friday, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., or it could be 4/10s, Monday through Thursday, or Tuesday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. And a 30-minute unpaid lunch. Item 16 to me is a big one, break period. Y'all understand, Local 26, we haven't had break in our language since I've been a member. And so break has been taken away, and so you don't get a current break time and a lunch. You just get your lunch. And so to me, this is an important one. Employees shall receive a 15-minute paid break. Break shall not be skipped to leave the job early. Back when I was an apprentice, we had 15-minute break, but that was not in writing. It was just kind of by practice. And on certain jobs, people would be like, hey, let's skip break and we'll leave at 2 o'clock instead of 2:30. And when people decided they wanted to do that, it was perfectly fine. Well, now, can't do that anymore. Now you got to take your break, which is good, especially for our members that are a little bit older and really need that break. But it's good for all of our members because that 15-minute break is good for the mind. I'm telling you from experience, you want that break. Change of shift. Any shift change shall start at the beginning of the work week with 24-hour notice to the workers and the business manager. In the case of a mid-week shift change, the hours of that week, that shift, will be paid at time and a half, the regular rate, until the recognized beginning of the new shift starting the following week. So if they do a shift change on Tuesday and you're doing 5/8, Tuesday through Friday, you're going to get paid time and a half until the following Monday when your work week begins again. I think that's a good change. Reporting time. For the purpose of tardiness and absenteeism, progressive discipline shall be utilized. Disciplinary documentation shall not be more than 3 months old if you're going to the next step. This is to stop foremen from abusing workers. They'll be reaching back a year to add on to your tardiness and, call you like having absentee problems. It's a dirty game, baby. It's a dirty game. Busing. Employers must provide a ride back to your car if you have to leave for whatever reason mid-shift. So if you're parking off-site and they bus you to the job site, what's currently going on in a lot of jobs is if someone has to leave because of an emergency, the employer's like, take an Uber to the parking lot. They won't give you a ride back. So now they put it in language that they got to give you the ride back. I personally wanted paid busing, meaning that if you're not at your car by the time quitting time arrives, you're getting paid time and a half. And your shift starts at 6 at your car, not at the gang box, because you got to be bussed in. So you should be able to start your shift when you park your vehicle. But that's what I wanted. It's not what we got. We got employers must provide a ride back to the car. So if you get sick, they got to give you a ride back to the car. No more telling you catch an Uber. Section 4.19, sanitary facilities. The employer shall make every effort to ensure sanitary conditions of the porta-johns. When the GC is not providing sanitary restroom conditions, the employer should act as a liaison between the GC and employees to ensure sanitation. This one's important because you get the language into the document. I think this is a very minimal change. I mean, a very minimal requirement, because now the employer just has to act like a liaison with the GC if the GC's falling short on keeping the porta-john sanitary. I'd like it to be a little more robust, but it's not. And it is what it is. Section 4.21, RIF separation. In the case of an unacceptable transfer, if an employer transfers an employee from one job to another, the employee shall have the right to demand a RIF. That is important, because there's a lot of bait and switch that goes on where people want to say, I need you to work at this job, and then 2 days later they shift you to the job that they really want you to work on, that they can't get people to come out there to. So to be able to say, hey, no, I want to take a RIF is a good thing. Also, we get travelers that come and work up here, and sometimes these companies want to transfer the travelers, and travelers, because of their own code of ethics, is like, I don't want to accept this transfer. Well, now there's language that says you could take a RIF and not accept the transfer. All right, section 5.02, overtime. This one is a very big one to me. Hours worked in excess of 8 hours on a 5/8 shift will be paid at time and a half. After 10 hours, work is paid at double time. On 4/10s, any work past 10 hours is time and a half. Any hours past 12 hours becomes double time. Saturday still gets to be used as a makeup day. Right now, the way it's worded, you have to work 40 hours before you can be paid $1 of overtime. That, I've never seen this wording in the contract before, but when I started in Miami, this is how it was. When I left Miami and then I came up here years later, to find that you had to work 40 hours before you got your overtime hours in there was very frustrating, because sometimes you got small kids, you got to miss a day, and it sucks that you miss on Wednesday, and that wipes out the overtime that you accumulated Monday and Tuesday. So now you accumulate your overtime daily. Every day, whatever you work overtime that day, you got it. And that's important. It's very, very important. Let's keep it moving. Holiday pay. Waiver licenses are now accepted. We need 2 licenses to qualify for holiday pay. If you work a holiday, you are paid double time for working that day, plus the 8 hours of the holiday pay on top of that. Now, the waiver licenses, that's another big one, because back in the day, when the yellow ticket gained reciprocity with DC, it gained to be able to get a DC license because you got your yellow ticket. A lot of journeymen went and got their DC license in order to get holiday pay because it was so they didn't have to sit for the test. They just had to show that they were journeymen and they were able to get the license. The contractors barked and went to CIR and said, hey, this is not fair. They wanted it so that you had to sit for the test, and that's the only way you get paid holidays. And so the waiver rule was waived, and it was now required that you had to sit and take the test in order to get your holiday pay. So this is important because now, yeah, you have to have 2 licenses, but the waiver requirement is the sitting for a test requirement is gone, and now your waiver license is perfectly fine to get your holidays. That's important. A lot of people probably are overlooking these things, but I think it's important for the majority of our membership. Juneteenth is now an optional unpaid holiday, so if you want to take the holiday in celebration of Juneteenth, you can use your PTO, or you could just miss that day of work. However, if you do work that day, it's straight time. It's not going to be any holiday pay. Section 502, paid time off can now bank up to 120 hours, and your notification is just before shift starts. So if you're going to miss and you want to use your PTO, you got to let them know before the start of shift. That changes from what it used to be. That's a better change. Your final paycheck, Section 507. If you receive a RIF, you must receive your paycheck and a check for all accrued PTO at the time of layoff. If that payment is not made, an employee will receive a $50 stipend every day until they are paid their last check, with a max $250 stipend. Now there is a catch in there. You got to give them 3 days to correct the situation and report it, and then you can start collecting that $50. So there is a catch in there. I didn't write it all down because it's a lot of language, but like I said, dive into the contract yourself, read the language for yourself, and form your own opinion, for crying out loud, for yourself. Lastly, and most importantly, the wages. We're going to go from $54 an hour in the pocket to $62 an hour in the pocket by the end of the contract. That's an $8 raise in the money in your wallet. There's some other items in the other funds that went up, so it totals out to about $10 and some change over 3 years. That's the contract that is in front of us. All right, that's what was proposed. I'm going to tell you that my parameters for a stellar contract was 25 or better over 3 years, and I wanted a bunch of condition changes. That was my requirement. But I also understand that the area and the times that I live in and where I'm at. And so what I found would be acceptable is working conditions and a raise. What was delivered, in my view, is a good overall contract. Yes, the money is short. I know it's short. It's far short than where it should be. Absolutely, I agree. The wording in the contract, though, those condition changes, I think are extremely important. I think they're easy to overlook because they're not flashy. They're not a dollar amount. But I think it'll improve the work life of the workers in a noticeable way. And I think that it'll be noticeable very early on. Now, is this contract stellar? No, it's not. But it is good. So, in my view, I will be voting yes on this contract. By that same token, I also understand everybody's struggle. And I also understand everybody knowing how much they're struggling. And so I don't begrudge anybody who feels that they need to vote no. I totally get it. The way I view my local union is that the decisions that are made have to be made on a plurality of our membership. And so what I hope is that out of 10,000 members, man, it'd be nice to get 10,000 votes in. I'd be shocked if we get 3,000. I'd be surprised if we get more than 2. participation matters, I hope that the plurality's voice is heard. And if that means that the plurality says, no, this needs to go to CIR, hey man, I'm right there with you, let's go. If the plurality says, yeah, we should accept this contract, hey man, I'm right there with you, let's go. I'm gonna vote yes. But you gotta read the contract for yourself and make your own decision. My name's Eric, you're watching Union Minded. Remember that the fight's not left and right, it's up and down. It's gonna take solidarity to win always. Each one teach one, get out there and reach one. And remember, there could be no union without you and I front and center. So let's get it. Peace.